Hey, y'all, what's up? Coach Paul here. God has qualified me. This is Move Mondays, and you have greatness in you. Now, before we get to talking about that greatness, y'all know what I got to say. Watch this. If you don't move, that person, those people, those places, those things, those thoughts, those ideas, or those ways, Coach Paul promises you this. They are definitely going to move you, and you don't want to move where they're going to move you to. Also, that person that you might got to move, probably you. All right. Let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. Y'all know I got to drop a nugget. I'm going to take a quote from my pastor that he used at the men's conference that we had last week, Friday. It was an awesome conference. It was a great opportunity to see a whole bunch of men get together from an adding value and a filling one another's cup standpoint. I just pray that we can continue to do this on a regular basis. That'll be another episode to talk about. However, I want to get to this quote that Pastor Sean Nepstead said. He said, where there is no resistance, there can be no growth. I'm going to repeat that. Where there is no resistance, there can be no growth. All right. Hope y'all get that. Put that in your cup and drink it. All right, let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. Wow. The basketball playoffs has been going on for the last probably about a month and a half. And it's been some spectacular games, some spectacular wins, some sad losses, so forth and so on. But this last series that I watched, and that's the Eastern Conference Finals series with the New York Knicks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. That series was very interesting to me, and it brought upon or inspired a title and subject matter for this particular episode of Move Mondays. And I decided to name it Just Standing Around. Because that's what some of us doing. We have greatness and extraordinary potential in us, but some of us, all we doing is just standing around. Let me give you some context. First and foremost, you got to understand something about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. They were the best two teams in the East because they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. What did I just say in relation to you? How does that relate to you and me? Bible says that a man's gifts makes room for him and brings him before great men. So their gifts put them in the place and in a situation where those were the two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals. Your gifts are making room for you. So are you in the rooms? Wait a minute. Did you even go to the rooms? Or are you just standing around? Or did you go into the rooms and just standing around? Let me go on. So they were the best two teams in the Eastern Conference. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. What I want to note about the Cleveland Cavaliers is that they did everything that they needed to do to get there. Some of y'all better catch that. Some of y'all better catch that. They did everything that they did everything that they needed to do to get there. So they got there to the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 1. Now, this is the best of 7 series. What did I just say to you all? Watch this. It's not just one game. If you lose one, guess what? It's some more games. You know how I know it's some more games? Because if you lost this game today and you still alive tomorrow, that means it's some more games. All right. So, game 1. Cleveland Cavaliers is exercising their greatness over the New York Knicks. They dogging them. They beating them bad at home, hitting everything. 22-point lead. And some of us, in terms of our greatness, we have gained some momentum, right? And in this case, with the Cleveland Cavaliers, they took their foot off the gas. See, one of the things you got to understand is that once you start to gain your momentum in your greatness and in your extraordinary potential and being in the rooms and in the places that your greatness and your extraordinary potential are going to put you in, just because you got in the rooms don't mean that you're supposed to stand around and lose your momentum. This is what this is the biggest mistake that the Cleveland Cavaliers made. They didn't make any adjustments. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to our greatness, right, depending on the room, depending on the place, depending on the atmosphere, depending on the circle, depending on whatever it is that God has moved us into, somebody said it like this, you got to read the room. You got to read the room and make the adjustments accordingly. I was just listening to a clip on ESPN's First Take, and somebody was objecting to the fact that AI is going to be used as a tool to help the referees make calls. And one other guy said, no, we got to learn how to evolve, right? And adapt. So you got to read the room, you got to read the time, you got to read the atmosphere and know when and how to evolve and adapt to it. Cleveland didn't do that. They didn't make adjustments in their game. Here's one of the things that they did do. Because see, one of the things that New York did is that they exploited the weak link in terms of defense that was on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They exploited that, in that because they exploited that weak link in the defense, oh my God, somebody better get this. Excuse me. Because they exploited that weak link in the defense, and the defender, let me say that, because it was one defender that was on them, on this guy, on their... Watch this. As you build upon, exercise, and walk in your greatness, you cannot, in terms of the teammates, because watch this, greatness is going to cause for you to have the teammates. You cannot put your weakest link on the greatest opponent on the other team. You cannot do that. This is what Cleveland did. They put the weakest link in terms of defense on the greatest offensive player. And it showed, because that offensive, they went on an 18-1 run. Now, watch this. As this guy, they said in basketball, he was busting his butt. And y'all know, I can't say the A word, but he was busting his butt. And I'm hollering at the TV, what are you doing, coach? Time out. Now, listen, I'm not invested in either one of the teams, but I was seeing something spiritual. I was seeing something deeper in that game. And I was hollering at the TV saying, what are you doing? Call a time out. Call a time out. Watch this. Sometimes on the road and the path and the journey to your greatness and my greatness, you're going to have to know when to call a timeout. If you're getting beat, right? If you're losing and you're getting beat. Now watch this. Greatness is not designed for us to win every game and every battle. But some games we lose because we give them away. I want y'all to catch that one. Those are the ones that I'm talking about. You need to call a timeout. It was going down and you needed to call a timeout, and he didn't call a timeout until they was 5 They was down by 5 points by the time that the coach called a timeout. So I'm going to ask y'all this question. Let me pause it. In terms of your team, because again, greatness needs a team. In terms of your team, is your leader just standing around watching you get dominated? Because if your leader's just standing around watching you get dominated, you need to get rid of that leader. You need to get, because watch it again. I'm not saying that your leader or whoever is the head of that team is supposed to know everything. But in this case, listen, Stevie Wonder saw this. Stevie Wonder could see this. Okay? Who on your team is able to see and notice whether you're being dominated, whether you're just standing around, or whether you're continuing to win? You got to pay attention to that. Because listen, they say it like this: teamwork makes the dream work. And you only as strong as your strongest link. You only as strong as your leader. Come on. All right. Now, he called a timeout. It was 5. They was down by 5 points by the time he called the timeout. And I'm going to talk about what he said after the game. Okay, 5 points down, called a timeout. It didn't help. What did I just say? If you don't call a timeout when it's needed, sometimes, and in some cases, by the time that you call the timeout, it's going to be too late. Oh my God, y'all better get that one. Sometimes by the time you call a timeout, it's going to be too late. So watch this. As it relates to us on the pathway and the road to our greatness, we can't be just standing around. We got to be focused. We got to be paying attention. We got to know when we got the momentum, and we got to know when we got to call the timeout and go regroup. Listen, just because you got greatness in you, just because you got extraordinary potential in you, doesn't mean that it's always on full. Sometimes you got to go regroup. Again, I spoke earlier about this men's conference that we had at our church. It was a great opportunity for men to regroup and refill and refuel. Everybody needs that. I don't care what team you on. I don't care how great your team is. Everybody needs that. And the greats that I listen to, the greats that I follow, with the T.D. Jakeses and the Eric Thomases and all of those, the Jamal King and all of these guys that I follow behind, all of them, Les Brown, all of them say the exact same thing. You got to know when to take a step back and refuel and reshape and refocus whatever is going on with the team so that you can continue to win. All right. Now, by the time he called the timeout, it was too late. Because when the Cleveland Cavaliers got back on the floor, see, now I'm a spiritual guy, not meaning this spirituality stuff. I'm talking about I'm a spiritual guy in that I follow behind the Holy Spirit. And what I saw from a spiritual standpoint was that New York had snatched the heart out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. When they got back on the floor from that timeout that he called, when they was down just 5 points, when the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks got back out on the floor, it was almost as if the New York Knicks got back out on the floor by themselves. The heart of the Cleveland Cavaliers was snatched out of them. And what I want to say to that, this is what I want to speak to that. Some people are not going to believe you. It's going to snatch your heart out, but you got to keep going. Some people going to leave you. It's going to snatch your heart out, but you got to keep going. Some people going to ridicule you. It's going to snatch your heart out, but you got to keep going. You can't let it snatch your heart out to a place where you start standing around, because that's what they did. Now, they got their heart snatched out, right? They could have got it back. They had the opportunity to get it back. But one of the things that they did, they started just standing around. And the New York Knicks obviously ended up winning that game. go on to win the series. I'm gonna go as far as saying this. New York Knicks won that series. Again, it was a best of 7, 4 out of 7. That series was over in game 1. And it was because they didn't make the adjustments and call the timeouts, get refueled, regroup. They didn't do the things that they needed to do when it was needed to be done, when it was cause for it to be done. And it caused them to lose the entire series in game 1, in the first game of the series. Let me ask you this question. Is there situations where you've allowed yourself this same type of scenario where you didn't regroup, where you didn't take a step back, where you didn't call a timeout, where you didn't refuel, where you didn't huddle, and your heart got snatched out? You didn't even try to get it back. You just gave up. You just quit, and you ended up starting to just stand around. Now watch this. And then at the end of the game, in the post-game conference, now the coach gonna get these excuses. Well, I wanted to make sure that I had the timeouts just in case I needed to do a review or replay or whatever they do when they want to go over and look at the tape again because they may have thought that a call was wrong. It's all what he reminded me of when he said that was what the guy said when God gave the one talent to. Excuse me. He said, I knew that you were a shrewd guy and I didn't want to mess up. And so I took the thing that you gave me and I buried it. And here it is. And y'all know what the scripture says that happened to that guy. Well, the exact same thing. Because he didn't listen, because he didn't invest those 4 timeouts, at least 2 of the timeouts that he had, because he didn't invest those. He didn't listen. He didn't put them in and get these guys off the floor. They ended up losing the entire series in game 1. Because when you go to game 2, 3, and 4, you saw these guys literally just standing around. I was laughing with a guy yesterday, and I said, it almost looked like it was 10 New York Knicks on the floor playing basketball and no Cleveland Cavaliers. Let me ask you a question. Is your team, are you or the team that you are part of, have you all given up so much that it's almost like you are playing with the opponent? And and watch this. In this case, the opponent is mediocrity. The opponent is ordinary. The opponent is comfort zones. Have you gotten to a place because you have gotten your heart snatched out and didn't go get it back? You didn't take a time out and go and regroup, or you didn't get with the teammates and say, hold on, we got to do something different. Have you gotten to a place where you just said, I'm gonna go ahead and stand around and I'm gonna play with the opponent? The opponent, watch this, that's gonna snatch the life out of me eventually. Because I want y'all to, and the reason why I'm saying this, y'all, is because as they were standing around, the thing that came to my mind was like, oh, they're making this about them now. They're not even playing for other people. They making this about them now. Have you done that? Is that what you on your way to? Are you thinking about that? Because one of the things that Move Mondays is about what do we need to move out of the way so that we can walk into the greatness that God has put inside each and every one of us. It's just that plain and simple. It's just that plain and simple. That's what all this is all about. And so I'm asking a question, and I would love to have some conversations around this. Are you just standing around? Did you allow your heart to get snatched out because you didn't make the adjustments that was necessary to continue to move and win? Because let me tell you something about greatness. I said this yesterday when I was at the treatment center speaking. I said, even when I lose, I win. Y'all can do whatever y'all want to do with that. Even when I lose, I win. That's a learned behavior. And that's another nugget that I would like to give you all. So y'all make sure y'all chew on that. And let's have some conversations around this. Are you just standing around? Or are you in this thing to win this thing? Because like I said in the beginning, the reason, listen, you are here because you have met all the requirements to get here. You've done everything you needed to do to get here. On the other hand, when it comes to mediocrity, you have done everything you needed to do to be there. When it comes to ordinary, you have done everything you needed to do to be there. When it comes to comfort zones, you have done everything that you needed to do to be there. So when you lose, don't get mad. Anyway, with that being said, let's have some conversations around this because this is an awesome subject and an awesome topic. Are you just standing around? Or are you regrouping and getting back in the game so that you can win? Because you are a winner. With that being said, Coach Paul loves every last one of y'all, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until we get together again, I need everybody within the sound of my voice to be well, do the next right thing. God bless you all. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. With that being said, deuces.